right, everybody, welcome in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Today, we're coming at you with a mock draft for fantasy football. It's a special mock draft. We've got a special guest here, our first ever guest on the NFL Seekers podcast, Jason Bishop, a writer for Let's Talk Broncos. Super excited to have you. Always talking fantasy back and forth, texting, spitballing football. So super excited to have you on here. How are you, man?
Yes, sir. I'm good. How are you guys? I'm excited. I didn't realize I was the first ever guest.
Special.
Should be a good one. This is my expertise, mock drafts. You know me. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna draft the best team, but I guess we'll see.
Yes, sir. We got an absolute fiend in the third box over there right now. We're doing a dynasty league with Jason, so it should be fun. So we've been talking all off season, but this is gonna be fun, man. This is what feeds the families here. Our mock drafts is the most fun, exciting thing, and we're gonna do our best to try and finesse each other all throughout here.
Yeah, like I said, me and Jason are always texting back and forth about fantasy, so we're definitely going to be finessing each other's guys, and that's going to be my goal in this episode is to draft all of Jason's guys and ruin his draft. So I'm super excited for it.
That's crazy hater energy, but bro, I got a few tricks up my sleeve still. I'm a cook.
All right. All right.
There's Silent Storzy over here, who's just gonna absolutely just I'm quiet over here at pick number 9. Dan's picking 3, picking 6. I'm 9. It's a 12-team PPR mock draft. So just a little background for everyone. But yeah, it's gonna be absolutely toxic.
Yes, Thor's will be picking last.
No doubt.
Stores can get all the scraps. He'll be sitting patient and getting all the values here. But do you want to just get right into it? Do you want to see who goes first?
Let's do it.
So I will be picking 3rd, and then Jason will be picking 6. He's the guest, so he got to choose where he wanted to pick. Amon-Ra goes 1st overall. That is interesting. Followed by CMC. So I've got quite the board here for me at 3. This is actually a beautiful scenario. Whoever overdrafted Amon-Ra. Someone's a huge believer in the Lions. This is actually crazy.
I'm gonna stick my hand up right here and say that's not a bad pick. Amon-Ra, dude, I'll be honest, I'm a Lions theme this year, and with the volume that Amon-Ra got with a back-to-back season with Ben Johnson coming back, I wouldn't. It's not far-fetched to say that he couldn't be wide receiver 1 in fantasy. So I'm not a hater of that. I actually really like it.
It's all right. There's better players than Amon-Ra though. CD, yeah. Tyreek.
I don't know if he's wide receiver 1, but
no, he's a cool wide receiver 5 probably.
It's a dart throw. When's the wide receiver 1 ever finished back-to-back seasons? I'm gonna throw that out there right now.
That's true.
Don't sleep on my boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
That's a pretty good point actually. And Stores has been really high on Amon-Ra this whole offseason, hyping him up, but with that being said, I'm going against Stores right now. When has the wide receiver 1 ever finished as the wide receiver 1? The next season, I actually don't know. But I'm taking CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 1 last year. Should be the wide receiver 1 this year. Every year, I think he's just too good. He's going to be too consistent, 22 points per game. I think he's the only option on the Cowboys as well. Their wide receiver 2 is kind of like Jake Ferguson, unless you want to count Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 2. So, yeah, I think CeeDee's got to be the move. Tyreek's got Waddle next to him, and that's kind of my tiebreaker there. So I will be taking the wide receiver 1 in my opinion.
I'm not going to argue that there, especially at pick number 3. That is tremendous value. And then there goes Tyreek and Justin Jefferson right before Jason picks. That's
all the receivers are gone.
That's okay, man. I'm going to get the player who I wanted, and 12-man team, you got to think about building a team here. So I'm going to go the running back on the Atlanta Falcons. I'm going Bijan Robinson.
All right. Yeah, I know you're a big Bijan guy. He's got Kirk going in there, so it will be a great situation. No more Arthur Smith to sabotage him, so you definitely can't fault that second running back off the board.
His OC, his head coach are coming from the Rams. Rams are historically known for not running very much a committee, more so. I mean, look at Kyren last year, playing 90% snaps every game. He's obviously got the talent. The offense is going to be better with Kirk there. I don't see any way this guy isn't at least a top 5 running back this year as a floor. And I think he could be the number 1 overall scorer in all fantasy at his ceiling. So I think I get my first running back, fill out my team. I could get receivers later. It's a pretty easy pick to me.
Pick 6 is a super good value for him too. So I'm not going to argue with that pick at all. Sadly, it was a good pick. Sadly, Jason's starting off
Sadly, is
well.
crazy.
And I will say real quick, we will grade each other's teams at the end, and we'll have the comments decide who had the best draft. So I am really excited for that. But Stores, you're up after Breece Hall and Jamar Chase go. So that is kind of the consensus top 8
Brutal.
players off the board there.
Yeah.
If Jamar Chase would have fallen there, that would have been just tremendous value. But you know, I'm gonna stick with my theme of being an absolute Lions fiend, and I trust the offense. And you know, I'm gonna go with the guy who I think has the upside to be a running back one and to be the the fantasy running back one, and that is Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs. Super high on him. I think as we saw last season, David Montgomery was an incredible running back, but I think we saw the workload starting to lessen, and I think it's going to be put more on Jahmyr Gibbs' shoulders. And with his versatility in the pass game and the run game, and how good he was at scoring touchdowns last year too, I'm super excited. I'm super pumped for almost every Lions player. So I'm taking all the stock in them I can get. But an absolute brutal fall for me right there, as I was going to take Marvin Harrison Jr. with my pick coming back, and he goes one pick before me, along with Garrett Wilson, Puka Nacua, Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams, AJ Brown. So
Before you pick Stores, I do want to tell Jason real quick. So we did our running back rankings, and Stores' RB2 was Jahmyr Gibbs, right? He wasn't your RB1. It was 2, right?
it was 2, yes.
Okay. That's pretty bold,
I
though.
saw that.
Yeah.
I thought that was bold as well. I can see it, but he has competition in a way that Bijan and Breece and even a guy like Jonathan Taylor doesn't. So I'm a little iffy on Gibbs, but the talent is there. It's just if
Upside's good.
Monty, it comes down to Ben Johnson, really.
That's
all
think
it
it's
is.
I think it's such a high-powered, high-scoring offense with so much volume to go around. And I mean, if I'm sticking on my same trend here, I would like to go Sam Laporta, but I'm not going to, just because the value right here of Saquon Barkley is just staring me right in the face. And Saquon Barkley behind an Eagles offensive line seems absolutely scary. I mean, what he was able to do under, one of the worst offensive lines over the last few years with the Giants, I think his ceiling just raises tenfold. And I think he also has potential of being, a top 5 fantasy running back. And I feel like he's going to get in the end zone a lot more.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I thought you were going to go 2 Lions and then go Laporta and Gibbs. That would have been very
I was
cool.
very, very tempted. If in my next pick, if Saquon wasn't there, would have been Sam Laporta.
All right, very bold.
Dude.
But Devontae Adams and Brandon Ayuk go off the board right after, and Jason is back up.
Yeah, this has me in a little bit of a pickle because it wasn't going to happen. I really wanted Saquon though, and I'm not a big fan of the players in this range. With that being said,
This
shoot,
range is just so sus to me, man. The Drake London and this mid-second round range is really hard for me to choose a guy, honestly.
This is
Yeah.
where leagues are won right here, though. This
Yep.
is you got to hit it right. You got to get this one right.
And with that being said, I'm gonna aim very much for a league winner, and I'm gonna grab Devon Achane.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I'll be
Hi.
honest, I'm a little scared of him, but I like the player, and he was literally the best running back I've ever seen in my life last year.
I'm very scared of him, but at the same time, it's a biggest boomer bust pick possible, but he was like the best running back in football last year when he had the ball.
Yeah.
Literally 8 yards per carry. He was insane. Even if I don't think he needs an 200 plus touch workload even to be a great back. So I just think in that offense with that explosiveness and his talent, even with a little bit of a suspect offensive line and competition, I'll take the home run shot.
Yeah,
But
that's
it's a
fair.
scary one. I don't know if come draft day I could actually do it.
I like it. I remember last was it like week 8 or something. I was texting Danny. I was like, "Is this the best football player we've ever seen ever?" Dude, every time he touched the ball, it was like 10 yards per carry or a touchdown. And so he's like Tyreek Hill, but a running back. So
Exactly.
I like it. I like it.
He had 800 yards on 103 attempts, literally 7.8 yards per carry. There's no reason they don't give him more of a workload and he just explodes. So I think it's worth a shot even this high.
I do
But-
want to ask you, Jason, when do you think he just takes over completely as the RB1? Do you think he starts week 1 as the RB1, or will Mostert be the starter day 1? How do you think that plays out?
Me I think it's a committee, and I think that's fine.
Yeah.
Look at Mostert in a committee last year
Yeah.
and Achane. I think this is one of the very few offenses, along with maybe the Rams and then Miami and Detroit. I think those are the only offenses that could support two backs. I don't think Achane is ever going to fully take over just because he's such a tiny guy.
Yeah.
It's tough to, but I don't think he needs that. Maybe it depends. If he's not as good as he was last year, this pick will blow up on whoever gets him come draft day. But it's a bet on the talent, I think.
Yeah.
So I
Bet on the
think
talent.
Mostert's still relevant.
You're betting on the upside as well, and you get him as your RB2. I think that's where it becomes a really good pick, because you have Bijan already, so you get Achane as the RB2, and that's just incredibly scary upside, honestly. So I love that. Sam Laporta finally goes, followed by Derrick Henry right before my pick. I am deciding between two people here. It is between Chris Olave or Travis Etienne, who I absolutely love. This is pretty tough, but I am going to wait on receiver. I already took CD, and I will go with Travis Etienne. I am very high on the player, very high on the situation. I think that offense runs through Etienne. I really do. I think he's really solid as a receiver. I am pretty high on Etienne this year. He's my RB7. So
No, I like that a lot.
Mhm.
And I mean, what he did last year at the beginning of the season was really impressive, and I felt like the Jaguars just kind of fell off. But his workload and usage this year, I mean, he is a clear-cut running back one. Remind me, Tank Bigsby, who they drafted last year, was just kind of a bust. There's really no competition behind him, so he's just got a clean workload in front of him.
Jason, what are your thoughts on
I
Etienne? I can't remember if you were. I think you're a little bit lower on him, right?
No, you convinced me. That's the
Ooh.
other guy I was coming down to between him and Achane. I feel like Etienne's the definition of a super safe pick in this range. Where I already had Bijan, I wanted to shoot for more upside. But if I need a RB1, I'd probably go Etienne like you did, because you know the volume's going to be there. Tank Bigsby is not stealing volume, and he might not be the most efficient back. They're probably not going to be the best running game, but he's going to get enough attempts just off that alone to be. He's going to probably be again what he was last year. And I think that's perfectly fine here. Honestly,
Exactly.
a value.
Yep. It's a good safe. I feel like, yeah, like you said, Jason, it's a good safe pick at this range when you need a running back one.
Yeah, exactly. He's not going to blow up in your face.
Absolutely. I love pairing him with CD. Chris Olave, Drake London, Josh Jacobs, and Josh Allen go off the board right after my pick. I'm back up. I can't believe Brandon Ayuk is already off the board. That is surprising how early Brandon Ayuk went. But with that being said, I have a little bit of a take, and I do have Deebo ranked one spot above Ayuk. I just think he's going to be more involved in that 49ers offense, a little bit easier of a projection for me for him to, he averaged over 16 points per game last year. I think it'll kind of be similar. I think he's just such a focal point of that offense. He's just a player I really love. I'm really high on. So I will be calling my shot here in the third round, taking him over some higher ADP guys, but I'm going to call my shot on Deebo. Absolutely love him. Blew up at the end of the season last year and led me to the playoffs. I'm going to be riding that again.
I like it. Yeah. It's hard because it just feels like it's just such a crowded, room. Obviously with Ayuk and McCaffrey and Kittle, there's just so much to go around. But Debo is kind of that king chess piece or queen chess piece where you can just move him all over and he's gonna get touches. And the offense kind of does revolve around him. Kyle Shanahan loves to use him all over the field. And I like that take. I'm probably a little bit more high on Brandon Ayuk, but I respect the take.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
Travis
I'm the
Kelce,
same way. Shoot, my fault.
Travis Kelce and Jalen Hurts go off the board, two onesie positions right before Jason. Don't know if you were planning on going quarterback, but you're back on the board.
Nope. I'll gladly wait. This is a home run pick, the easiest pick for me so far. I'm going to grab Nico Collins here.
Ooh, another crowded situation there with
It
Stephon
is.
Diggs going right after.
Yeah, it's for sure a crowded situation, but I think Nico Collins is so much better than the other two players. He showed it last year. I don't think Houston fully realized what they had with CJ Stroud to start the year. That's why we saw so much run heavy offense. I think they brought in Stephon Diggs. They're going to air it out a little more. And I think Nico Collins is one of the most talented receivers in the entire league in his prime and with a great quarterback. I think he's a clear cut receiver one here. And I'm a little more questionable on the other two.
Yeah, I
So
think it's
to me,
clear.
it was an easy pick. My fault.
No, I think it's clear that he's the number one receiver on the Texans. I know that their Stephon Diggs ADP is right next to him, but I do think he's going to substantially finish as the highest fantasy producer in that offense. So I love the pick.
I
You pair
agree.
him with the high upside with Stroud. It's a beautiful pick, and you set yourself up for a possible stack with Stroud if that's the direction you want to go. So I love it.
Yeah, I will say
Exactly.
with Nico Collins is that he is a different archetype and build than the other receivers. He is that bigger bodied, you know, push down the field, 50-50 jump ball, get into the end zone type of guy. So he is definitely my wide receiver one in that offense. So I do like the pick. I hate how suspect it is with Stephon Diggs going one pick after. It's going to be
That's true.
interesting with Tank Dell and everything in that. But Stephon Diggs, Jalen Waddle go. I'm going to go a little bit more of a high upside pick, a little bit more of a risky pick here. And I'm going to go Malik Neighbors. I'm going to go a rookie wide receiver as my wide receiver one, which is a very bold take, but he's kind of that diva personality, demand the ball. It feels like Odell Beckham Jr. back in 2013 type of situation with me. And it's time for Daniel Jones to prove it. And we already know Malik Neighbors doesn't like Daniel Jones, so I feel like Daniel Jones is gonna have to force feed Malik Neighbors. And I'm banking on that upside, man. And he was one of the most intriguing electric prospects we've seen in the last few years. He could have gone wide receiver one in most other drafts, given Marvin Harrison Jr. was in this draft, but a player that I'm very bullish and excited on, and I have no problem taking him a little bit above his ADP.
It's bold. It's bold. There's some good
It's very
receivers
bold.
that go off the board, but I respect it. I honestly do. What you said makes sense. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh, go on,
Big
Jason.
time boomer bust. No, that's all I had to say.
Yeah, it's a hot take, but I'm shooting for the upside here, and you know the talent level's all there. I mean, who's he scared of taking targets away from him realistically? Darius Slayton. I mean Wandell Robinson.
not Jalen Hyatt.
No, not Jay. I mean, it's Malik Neighbors' offense. Let's just say that's Malik Neighbors' offense. He's the best offensive weapon on that team, but very risky pick. But you know, we're winning the league. We're shooting for a little bit of upside here.
I'm excited to see how you follow this up.
Yeah, so Pacheco goes, Mike Evans goes, DJ Moore, Stroud goes, so ruins Jason's potential stack. Mahomes and Pittman here. I just kind of want to throw this out here before I draft, but what is your guys' take on Cooper Kupp? Because I'm absolutely terrified of him this year, and I like bring this up. It's a good discussion.
It is a good discussion. Shoot, I'll go first. I think he could be really good this year. It's just so scary. He's at that age where receivers start to fall off. It definitely didn't look like prime Kupp last year, but at the same time, he still produced. And I truly believe that's going to be one of the best offenses in football. So I think he's going around where he should go, and the concerns are baked into his ADP, where I'm comfy with it here.
I'm so torn on Kupp. I'm 50-50. I'm honestly just kind of scared off because I truly don't know what's going to happen. I could totally see a world where he screws over Puka and kind of, takes some of that Puka production that Puka had last year, because Puka is an injury prone player. People don't really remember that because he didn't really get hurt last year, but in college, that was kind of his downfall, why he had to transfer a few times, is because he's very injury prone. So I could see them wanting to take the load off of Puka. And that is one thing that really scares me. And that would obviously boost Cooper Kupp. So I can really see either argument. I wouldn't, hate the pick. I wouldn't love the pick. I'm just kind of in the middle with him.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm complete. This is like where I like tear my hair out here because I don't know. I mean, Cooper Kupp's just one of the most electric wide receivers. He had, that triple crown season where he was number one in yards, receptions, and touchdowns, and he was just 20 locked for 20 points a game. But given that, I mean, that last season was so scary. I know there's an injury there. But if I'm going off of what my gut says, I'm scared off. I want to go with skinny Batman. I want to go Devontae Smith, a guy that puts up 1,000 yards, even with AJ Brown. He can get in the end zone. It's a new offense under Kellen Moore. I feel like they will utilize him a lot, and I feel like he's a big boom or bust week kind of guy too. And I like the upside of the boom weeks with Devontae Smith, where he'll absolutely just take over. But I feel a little bit more safe with him than I do Cooper Kupp, even though I feel like Cooper Kupp may have the higher ceiling.
That is the perfect pairing with Malik Neighbors, I think, because Devontae Smith has a really high floor, really safe player to me. I personally rank him over Waddle, so I think it's great value as well. I do love that pick, pairing him with Neighbors, and they're both kind of your quasi wide receiver 1A and B. So I love it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
mean,
same. I think that was a much better pick than Cup because you're not getting a clear receiver one here, but you got as talented as a receiver two as you could at this range, I feel like.
Yes,
much better.
100%. That's kind of where I mean a wide receiver too that puts up 1,000 yards. You know,
Mhm.
in a high-powered offense.
Much better than Cup. Completely agree. Cup goes the next pick off the board, followed by Rashad White, and we're back up with Jason.
I feel like it's not a steal, but I'm getting a guy who I feel like is a really good value, and my tight end two behind just Laporta. I'm gonna grab Mark Andrews here.
Oh, he let Dan's guy slip. He let Dan's
I
guy slip.
I'm drafting the best team. Dan can be a hater. I'm just gonna grab the better tight end. He could have McBride if he wants him. Andrews is just he's a better player. They just lost. I mean, OBJ is not a big loss, but he's in line to be either the top or second target depending on Zay's development. We know Andrews is a good tight end. He shouldn't his ADP last year was in the 20s. It shouldn't have fallen. He just got hurt last year. Likely is a bit of a concern, but Andrews is gonna play and gonna get his targets. So I think it's pretty easy to me.
Yeah, I mean a McBride or a Kincaid here. I know, you know, I mean I know that's a very tempting pick for Dan as he's a big Josh Allen Buffalo guy. So
Shoot.
I mean, what is your thought on you know the conversation between Kincaid and McBride, Dan? Who do you feel more comfortable in that situation?
Well, I will say I wanted to give Jason crap, but that was a good pick because I have Mark Andrews ranked over Trey McBride as well. So I do agree. I think Mark Andrews
Okay.
is one of the best values in all of fantasy this year at this current moment. He's going to be the wide receiver one for the Ravens with Lamar. There's a potential where he's going with the Lamar stack as well. Obviously, it didn't happen in this scenario, but I will say there's another tight end I have ranked over both of them that we haven't even really discussed yet.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to pick one right here yet. James Cook and
Oh,
Jacksonville.
you think he's gonna fall back to you, huh?
I mean, there's only two teams picking before my next
It's
pick. So
fair.
if they both go tight end, that would be pretty tragic. I hope not.
Please for the plot twist, please.
Team two has the quarterback of the tight end I think you want. I don't know.
Oof.
Oh, why
What are we thinking here, Dan? We going running back?
If team two has the IQ, the CPU is the IQ to get that stack, I'll be pretty sad. But
I
I
was
am
about
going to
to
go.
ask.
I think I'm just going to call my shot on my favorite running back on the board right now, and that is Alvin Kamara. I absolutely love the guy. I don't want him to go off the board. I love the PPR value he brings, the full point PPR, because Derek Carr, you know, panics whenever there's any semblance of a pass rush coming to him. He just completely panics. So I think Kamara will have another great PPR season. So I just saw the board.
Oh yes,
Got sniped.
I am at a complete loss and I am regretting everything I've ever done in my entire life. I cannot believe I just wasted my Kincaid pick on Kamara. I'm pretty hurt right now.
Oh man, Kincaid just absolutely sniped one pick before. Team two CPU is absolutely brilliant there, pairing Josh
Absolutely brutal.
with his tight end one and wide receiver one and Dalton Kincaid. Dan is shook. He doesn't know what to do. He's absolutely panicking.
Can we talk
The
about
CPU had to get the stack.
They have CMC, Olave, Josh Allen, Metcalf, and Kincaid. That's a beautiful team. We all lost the team too.
They're stacked.
Oh my. Now I'm scrambling, completely tilting with my next pick here. Might just reach on a quarterback or tight end at this point.
Oof.
Oh, that is so brutal, man.
Hey, just throwing this out. I mean, what about Tank? I mean, I just want to talk about Tank Dell just because this is right as his ADP. Are we scared off of him because of Stephon Diggs? I mean, he had an incredible connection with CJ Stroud coming into the league before he got hurt.
That's a tough
Yeah,
one.
it's a very tough one. If either one of those receiver gets hurt at this spot, he has league winning upside. I cringe a little at the tiny guys. It's just not my type of player. They're gonna get hurt, and I don't know if they could ever be a high volume player for a full season. So I'll personally stay away, but the upside is there.
I'm personally staying away from it as well. I have Zay Flowers ranked over him. I think Zay Flowers will be more, implemented in his offense, get more targets. So I am kind of staying away from Tank Dell just being that wide receiver 3, although it's in a great high-powered offense. But what about you, Stores?
Yeah, I mean, he is really just the wide receiver 3 at this moment with Joe Mixon, who comes in as a decent receiving back. So yeah, like Jason stated, I mean the durability concerns are definitely there. He is, I mean, like 165 pounds soaking wet. So I mean you never know. I don't know if he can get a full 17, 18 game season in him, but I like the upside, but that's just bearing health.
Definitely fair. And with that, I'll go to my next pick after getting completely finessed, had no idea what to do. So I will just reach on a quarterback. I don't like taking quarterback in the first 6 rounds because I love the value at quarterback this year. I think it's the biggest hack in fantasy drafts this year is just quarterback value late in drafts is so beautiful. But I'm going to shoot for upside like Stores has been doing. I'm going to take Anthony Richardson, hope that he has that huge breakout season with Shane Steichen coaching him up. Hopefully he stays fully healthy because that is the knock and that is the fear here. But if he does stay fully healthy, this will be great value. He'll definitely repay it. And he has the upside to finish as a top 2 quarterback. So I will shoot for the upside.
I definitely respect it. I mean, yes, Shane Steichen, you got to think about this. Shane Steichen was the quarterback's coach, slash offensive coordinator for Justin Herbert his rookie year. He then goes over there to Philadelphia and absolutely turns around Jalen Hurts' career. And so he is kind of the quarterback whisperer. I mean, look at Gardner Minshew last year, came in and, absolutely picked up the pieces and was a pretty solid quarterback. And in the beginning of the season, Anthony Richardson was incredible. So it is a very good upside pick, especially with the running and the running touchdowns, which I'm very scared with Jonathan Taylor, Anthony Richardson bulging all those. So I like the pick. Definitely an upside pick. Definitely has that type of top 3 quarterback upside if staying healthy.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to sell me on 2024 NFL MVP Anthony Richardson. I'm already high enough. But I think, yeah, and pair him with 2024 Coach of the Year Shane Steichen. It's going to be a good year for the Colts, I think.
Yeah, Jason's a
But
big Colts guy.
yeah, I am. I think he's going to be. I think he is really good. And last year, the Colts offense was really good with an, in my opinion, not very good quarterback in Gardner Minshew. So even if Richardson isn't good, he's going to produce just off of his coach. So I'm very high on the Colts. And then if he's one of those guys, it's to the moon. So I think that's a good pick.
The potential's limitless with him. It really is. You can see it just watching him. The rushing ability is even crazy high upside. So
Hmm.
I love the pick. Zay Flowers and Tank Dell, 2 receivers that are very similar, go next right before Jason.
I'm just gonna stick chalk here. Another guy who I think is one of the best values in all of drafts right now. I'm gonna grab T. Higgins.
Solid
Last
value.
year he was the 24th, 25th ish ranked player last year. He gets hurt. Obviously not what drafters wanted, but there's no reason to expect anything else than typical T. Higgins things. He's one of the best number 2 receivers in the league, paired with one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's going to get his targets. He's going to produce. I feel very confident in that pick. I think it's a very high floor, and he has upside. So I feel very good with that pick. I think he's one of the best values.
He was going as a second, third round pick last year in the same exact situation that he's in right now. So you can't really fault. I think he's one of the better values as well.
Exactly.
Yep. Yeah, playing on a franchise tag too, he
Mhm.
wants his money. He's going to be looking for that market, and players play better when money's on the line. And so given Joe Burrow stays healthy all year, and that wrist injury doesn't affect him, I think that is great value. And T Higgins is in for a big year.
All right.
Exactly. That's what I think.
Kenneth Walker, Amari Cooper go right before Stores.
I was definitely tempted with Amari Cooper because I feel like he's another guy that's just very, very undervalued. Deshaun Watson is a whole different story. I just feel like he just has not been a good quarterback, period. Joe Flacco was awesome with Amari Cooper, but this one's actually pretty cut and dry and pretty easy for me. We got George Pickens, who's a wide receiver 1 in his offense. Deontay Johnson departs to Carolina. And, with the style of football with Russell Wilson and Justin Fields play, I don't know if Justin Fields will take over Russell Wilson's job, a couple weeks in the season. I probably expect that. But either way, George
He
Pickens,
will.
yeah, he is the best, wide receiver 1 prospect, on a team on the board right now. And he has those boom weeks. And I feel like he complements the style of play that both quarterbacks, like to play, like to air it out. So, pretty easy for my first flex spot spot here with George Pickens.
I absolutely love that pick. I mean, Russell
Mhm.
Wilson really relied on Cortland Sutton last year, and I think George Pickens will be the Cortland Sutton for this year. He'll come down with those 50-50 balls. He's really good in those situations. He'll have those big splash, long touchdowns like he had in the playoffs last year, or to go to the playoffs, I guess, last year. So I do really love the pick. I think he's one of the better values in fantasy as well. So that is a steal for Stores.
Yes. Keenan Allen, Aaron Jones, Kyle Pitts, Jordan Addison, Terry McLaurin, and Christian Kirk all go off the board. Jordan Addison was definitely on my eyes right there as another flex player. But again, I just want to throw out another player here just because I'm kind of confused on his situation, probably as most people are. But Rashee Rice, do we know if there's a guaranteed suspension?
It's my
It's tough.
dynasty flex.
Yeah, I was gonna say Jason would know the most because he has him in Dynasty, but I don't know if he's gonna get suspended, man.
I hope not. I hope not. But I don't know.
Might not.
I mean, maybe it might not be till like the 2025-2026 season here. Oh, this is hard because I mean, given he's the value of him, and if he plays a full game season, I mean, he is the Chiefs wide receiver one, outside of Travis Kelce, and he was kind of a fantasy league winner last year. I mean, me and Dan had him in a co-manager league where he was kind of our MVP and our savior.
In our main league, I drafted him and dropped him for the season, and I had Mahomes and Kelce, so that was pretty fun.
Oh, this is hard because I might, you know what? Screw it. I'm a Chargers fan. I'm a believer. Give me Ladd McConkey here, baby. Give me Ladd McConkey. Give me the Chargers wide receiver one. Give me the volume king, the guy that's going to step into Keenan Allen's role and potentially give me a stack that might be coming up here soon.
What are Jason's thoughts on Ladd?
I love Ladd. Like in that 90 range, I love Ladd, but this just feels
It's
high
a
to
reach.
me.
It's a reach. It's a reach.
You're getting your guy, you gotta respect it. But I don't know. I think there's a much better rookie receiver on the board for someone's taking.
Odunze is on the board, to be fair.
I will say this. I like the volume that Ladd McConkey is going to immediately have. If you're watching like reports come out of Chargers camp, apparently Justin Herbert said he's like a 5-year vet out there. He's very comfortable. He's already guaranteed a starting spot. And he's stepping into that Keenan Allen role where Herbert was so comfortable just hyper targeting, Keenan Allen. I like Josh Palmer. I think he probably steps in as the X right away. But I think Ladd McConkey is going to be the leading target and reception leader in this offense that has a lot of volume up for grabs.
I love the player. I think he's going to be in that Cooper Kupp type of role for the Chargers. I think they're really going to lean on him. So I do like it. And I could see him finishing over Rome just because Rome has all the receivers next to him he has to compete with. So he could be the number 2 rookie receiver. So I do respect you calling your shot. Kittle, James Conner go right after, and Jason's backup.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, I'm just gonna grab Rome. Maybe there's too much competition, but he was such a good prospect and he's playing with such a good quarterback. I think maybe not right away. He's probably not going to be the target leader, but I could see by the end of the season he's the top receiver on that team. He was such a good prospect. Most years he was probably receiver 3 in this class. Most years though, he's receiver 1. And I'm just going to bet on the talent. I don't think there's a single more talented player on the board here. Just point blank period. So I'm going to go with that. I have a lot of safe picks. This is more end of season. Maybe right away he's not my best flex, but towards the end of the season, as he gets more used to the NFL, I think this could be a league winning pick. I think he's a really good value.
Yeah, there's a world where Caleb just wants to attack his rookie teammate, and just build that connection. By the end of the season, he could be a complete league winner. A lot of the receivers are going off the board before your pick too, so I respect it. Like I have him ranked over Keenan just because of the upside, although I could see a world where Keenan is the wide receiver 1 on that team. It's really hard to predict the Bears, but I do love the pick.
It's a good pick with a high upside, that's for sure. And he is just essentially plays like Keenan Allen, but he's just a bigger, more physical player than Keenan Allen, who probably a little bit more durable, and can play a full 17-game season.
Exactly. Younger too. That's what I was going to bring up. I mean, Keenan, I don't know his age off the top of my head. He's up there though, and
32.
Exactly. he could get hurt. I mean, never want to see someone get hurt, but he's not the most durable guy. He's also just some players at this age, they fall off a little. I'm not saying he's gonna fall off, but it's a possibility. And if that happens, all of a sudden Odunze is one of the best picks in the whole draft. So I feel good about it, but there's definitely risk.
Yes, for sure.
Sure. I love the pick though. It fits your roster build really nicely. Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Swift go off the board right before my next pick. After getting completely finessed out of Trey McBride and Kincaid the rounds before, I will be bullied into taking a tight end here in round 6. I'm going to take Evan Ingram, last year's tight end too. Yes, it's kind of crazy that a real thing I just said. Evan Ingram finishes a top 3 fantasy tight end, and he is in a similar situation. Maybe Brian Thomas doesn't hit the ground running right from the start, and Evan Ingram could be a really good value and a really good PPR guy at the beginning of the season, and I think it's a pretty good value here. I think he's a top 5 tight end lock, and he's going as like the tight end 7. So I do like the value, even though it's not the most exciting name.
Yeah, I mean, probably the most quiet tight end to finish in NFL history. I think people's hate for Evan Ingram gets a little in the way, and I'm a little guilty of it. I mean, I still think of Evan Ingram on the Giants and just how terrible he
Yeah.
was. So, we're 2024, 2025. Evan Ingram is a little different in a different offense. So, it's a good pick. It's a good value, a very good value for a guy who had that much volume, and he had a lot of boom weeks. I mean, if you look at his game log, I mean, there was multiple, especially at the end of the season, where it helped a lot of people win their leagues. He had 10 plus reception games, so you got to take that in consideration. Trevor Lawrence loves to feed him.
Absolutely, they kind of run their offense through him, and I just realized I have ETN as well, so I will need to need that trend to keep going. I'll need that offense to be ran through Kirk, ETN, and Ingram. But with my next pick, Rashee Rice, Joe Burrow, David Montgomery, and Chris Godwin go. I'm definitely deciding between Jaden Reed and Calvin Ridley, 2 guys who I think are wide receiver 1 in their respective offenses. But there's Christian Watson and DeAndre Hopkins kind of right there with them. So that is a tough decision. Usually I always draft Jordan Love and the Jaden Reed stack as the tiebreaker. And yeah, I don't love Calvin Ridley, man. I just think he kind of fell off. I expected a lot more from him last year. I'll be taking Jaden Reed, just a really good high floor PPR option. Jordan Love loves to use him, and he comes down with touchdowns a lot. So I'm going to go Jaden Reed for my first flex spot.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
Just huge upside there. And Jaden Reed, if I'm remembering right, they called him a war daddy last year, man. He really came onto the scene and just kind of used in a similar Deebo Samuel role. I mean, where he was scoring rushing touchdowns. He was just getting involved in that offense, and with just such a high floor that just needs that guy to really take over as the wide receiver 1 for Jordan Love. I like Jaden Reed to be that guy.
And then Nick Chubb goes pretty early off the board, followed by Calvin Ridley, and Jason is back up.
I'm going to be honest, for how much you said you were going to snipe me, every single player I've wanted has fallen to me. I'm going to go with probably the last running back here with a clear cut role with no competition. I'm going to grab Ramondre Stevenson here, and that's going to be my last flex spot. I think Stevenson's another guy who is a pretty big value. He's going in the 70s right now. He's a clear running back 1 on the Patriots. Not the most inspiring offense, but he's going to get check downs. He's going to rush. And I mean, I think he's a pretty talented player. They paid him like a clear RB1, $9 million a year. That's among the highest paid running backs. So I think it's not a super inspiring pick necessarily. It's not super exciting, but he's going to be rock solid. And with Odunze, I think I needed a more high floor, solid flex. So that'll pretty much fill out my starting lineup.
You get him after Nick Chubb. That's pretty stupid value. We don't even know if Nick Chubb is walking. We don't even know if he can play football. So that's stupid value.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's the right pick. That's that was a snipe for me. I was crossing my fingers he would be there, but I mean, you get Ezekiel Elliott out of that muddy backfield. You potentially have Drake May starting at some point throughout the season where they're going to heavily rely on the run game, and yeah, it's not the sexy pick, but it was the right pick there.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so Xavier Worthy and Dak Prescott go after me, and here's another, just because I like to talk through my picks of what I like to do here, but I mean, the tight end room right here. We got Brock Bowers, David Njoku, and Jake Ferguson. Bullishly, I'm kind of leaning Jake Ferguson here because he's just a clear-cut wide receiver 2 on, that Dallas offense that just didn't add much playmakers or weapons. And I could see him being a very high upside guy with, obviously you got CeeDee Lamb, who's going to require a double team on almost every single play. And I like the way they used Jake Ferguson last year. I thought he was a safety net blanket for Dak Prescott. But Brock Bowers in the upside here is one of the most intriguing, tight end prospects ever. It's, he's really just a wide receiver out there playing tight end. But oh my, I need to phone a friend here because I don't know. And I mean, even David Njoku, who had an incredible season last year. I'm kind of torn on these 3 right here. Dan, phone a friend, help.
I was gonna let Jason talk because I do have a take here, but Jason can talk first if he wants.
I like Ferguson the most. I like Ferguson and Njoku. I'm also do we know if Hawkinson's gonna be on the field week 1?
There are some rumors that he might be put on the PUP like recently, so I'm a little bit scared off on Hawkinson, especially here. I know Stores hasn't ranked high in his rankings, but the injuries.
Yeah, Hawkinson's the best tight end on the board here, no brainer pick. But
yeah, he wouldn't be here.
Yeah, in July right now, where his injuries are just kind of a concern. Like in our dynasty league, I actually traded Trey McBride for Ferguson and Hawkinson, but I kind of had a safety net blanket where I can play Ferguson right away, and then I have that upside with Hawkinson. So I felt comfortable in that situation. But
my take here is I love Bowers more than honestly anyone. I was on record saying he's the best end prospect of all time, but I would take Jake Ferguson over Bowers. I really would.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think Ferguson's a wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys. Dak Prescott was playing MVP football last year. He's going to be spraying the ball all over, throwing touchdowns in the red zone to Ferguson. So I do think he's pretty much
kind of the tiebreaker for me is AOC and then Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I phoned in a friend. I used my one lifeline there. We talked it through. It feels like the right pick. I'm happy with it.
And Michael Mayer.
I think so too. Yeah. And Luke Getsy talking about how tight ends have to be run blockers.
Yeah.
And their first job is to block.
Yep.
It's going to ruin my GOAT, Brock Bowers. He was supposed to be a Bronco.
Get Getsy.
If I'm being completely honest, if I'm going over like picks that hurt me the most in the NFL draft, it was as me being a Chargers fan and you guys being Broncos fans, it was kind of like an arrow or a stab in the heart right there. Seeing
Followed by JPJ, Jackson Powers Johnson. Those are Telesco's first 2 good picks in like 10 years. So yeah.
Yeah, no, they nailed that. The Raiders have some talent on their team.
Their offensive weapons are actually pretty
insane.
Yeah, you got Michael Mayer, Brock Bowers, Devontae Adams,
even Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, I mean it's
Michael Gallup.
Yeah, it's a solid offense.
I don't know about that one.
Definitely not.
I mean, outside of your quarterback, your weapons are pretty good. I mean, your line's obviously questionable. You got Colton Miller, but
they're set up for 2025.
Yeah, they're kind of a sleeper team. Shout out the Raiders as much as
they're on Dak watch. I think
they are
after this
most
year.
definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And with all that being said, I'm going to take Jonathan Brooks here and hope I can have a mid-season absolute takeover. And I'm begging for upside here. This is going to be my first bench player right here. I'm obviously lacking a quarterback, but this is my first bench spot, and I want to take the upside of Jonathan Brooks because room's wide open. You take the number 1 running back in this year's draft with incredible upside coming from Texas, and feels like a very safe pick for me. A guy that will probably start week 7 or 8 on my fantasy team. With tremendous upside.
Yeah, similar to Odunze for Jason. This is a shot for the end of the season. He could be a league winner. He could be the Panthers' workhorse guy, and he could be a huge, huge value. So love that. Javonte goes off the board, followed by JSN, and Jason's up, and the best quarterback value in all of fantasy, in my opinion, is on the board.
Yeah, I'm not even considering a quarterback. I'm sticking to my board. I'm really having a tough time with 2 players. But I'm going to go
have quarterback. Sorry, just to cut you off, Jason. Dan,
I had to reach on Anthony Richardson.
Oh, okay. So Dan's got a quarterback. Okay, so me and Jason are going the we're waiting on our dudes.
The classic. I always wait on the dudes.
There's a lot of good value at quarterback right now.
I think we're both after one dude, but Um, that's for later on. I'm
We'll,
gonna.
we'll
I'm
see.
down
We'll
to
see.
2 players. Yeah, I'm gonna go Deontay Johnson here though to be my
That's a
top
good
bench
pick.
player. With Adunze, like especially considering my makeup, he probably isn't the best start right away. Deontay's just bound for 100+ targets.
Yeah.
At worst, he fills the Adam Thielen role and has a
Yeah.
little more upside than that. But if Bryce can actually become a functional NFL quarterback, which I personally doubt, but I think there's a lot of
Ooh.
upside.
Jason's a
Oh
hater.
yeah,
Jason, you're in the wrong podcast for Bryce Young hate here.
no, yeah, I'm a Bryce Young hater. I don't think you could be that bad and then
I wouldn't
resurrect
say he's
yourself.
that bad. I just think the situation around him was awful. I thought, given the circumstances, the dude was absolutely running for his life.
He was, but I don't know. That's one of my hot. Every single time a young quarterback underperforms, it's just the situation. Which his situation was abnormally bad, but I think he's okay. What's the case for him being a great quarterback? He's small, unathletic, doesn't have a great arm. It's just he can be a solid quarterback. How does he become a great quarterback?
I
He's
think
got
he's
that.
got the Joe Burrow factor. I think he has the
Yeah.
pre-snap advantage. I think he's just really intellectually like above a lot of quarterback prospects that I've seen personally. I think on the run, especially if he gets outside of the pocket, he really even impressed me last year watching the Panthers. I thought when he gets outside of the pocket on the run, his throwing accuracy is just incredibly accurate. And the thing is that gets me the most excited, and I know I'm probably psycho for this because he was bad last year. I'll acknowledge it. But Canales fixed Geno
Yeah,
Smith completely. He fixed Baker Mayfield completely. So I am kind of holding on to hope that he's going to hone in onto his strengths and really center the offense toward his strengths. But we'll see.
And I
I'd love to
love
see it.
Yeah, I love Carolina's outlook with Canales, with entirely revamping the interior of that offensive line, adding Deontay Johnson, adding now I blank his name, the South Carolina wide receiver.
Like
Somebody,
Leggett.
yeah, sorry, Xavier Leggett, having that veteran Adam Thielen, Jonathan Brooks. It's I mean, this is kind of his prove it year, you know. It's he's got to show up because you know the situation now is completely revamped and you know set up for success for him.
Yeah, I think they were really all those years in New Orleans with Breeze, Peyton kept investing in that interior offensive line. So I think they were really smart to do that. I think that line should be improved. He's set up for success. If he's not good this year, no talk about situation. It's
Oh
just
yeah,
he just doesn't have it.
definitely.
It's a prove
But
it year for
but
sure.
we'll say, yeah, I'm a Bryce hater. I liked him out of the draft, but then I don't know.
He was
We'll
bad
see.
last year. He was bad last year. He was genuinely bad at football last year. So I do understand it. I saw some flashes personally watching him, but with that, I got finessed again because Zach Moss is off the board. I was really banking on him coming back to me because he's a top 20 running back for me. DeAndre Hopkins goes as well. So I'm deciding between two rookies here, Brian Thomas and Keon Coleman. I have two Jaguars already, so I will be going with Keon Coleman in hopes that Josh Allen really develops a chemistry with him and he can maybe take over as the wide receiver one because he has the profile and the build. And I was high on him coming out. I love the situation. So I do like Keon Coleman here.
Good pick. A
Yeah.
guy with tremendous upside. You know, the size is unteachable. It's gonna be, you know, it's gonna go one of two ways. He's gonna be absolutely Josh Allen's dude, or he's gonna be Kelvin Benjamin. So
Yep.
you flip a quarter on that one.
Upside shot for sure, for sure. Austin Eckler, Brian Thomas, Christian Watson, Trey Benson go right after. And there's only one running back that somewhat intrigues me with these running backs on the board here. Well, Devin Singletary actually wouldn't be too bad because he is in that Saquon role that no one's really talking about that. But I'm going to take Jaylen Warren here, maybe in hopes that with Najee in a contract here, maybe they just lean in on Jaylen Warren being that guy. He's a lot more explosive. And there's a possibility where he ends the season as the RB1 for the Steelers. I don't love either the Steelers running backs, if I'm being honest. This is the first time I've ever drafted Jaylen Warren, but I'm not a hater on Jaylen Warren. He played high school over here in Utah where we are, so I gotta respect him.
Yeah, played a snow college, little small school up in the middle of nowhere. What do they call that? I'm blanking. A division. What
It's
was
like
it?
a community college. I don't even know.
Yeah, it's like a weird small college, but pretty cool story from Jaylen Warren. And I feel like he was a better running back than Najee last year. I feel like he should be the RB1.
This is the first time you've really sniped me in this draft. That's when I said
Wow.
I was between two players. It was Warren and Deontay. I
Ooh.
think just think about the Broncos offense last year. Russ is so incompetent. It's going to be so many checkdowns, so much like useless targets, but for fantasy, it's just beautiful. So I think he's going to eat up in fantasy. I think he's in for his best year. And at this point, it's a value. So
That's a great
I'm a
point.
little annoyed with that.
I
But
didn't even think about that. Pirine was like the most target, or the Broncos backfield in general had the most targets of any team last year because of Russ's play style. Pirine had a stupid amount of catches. So that's a good point. Warren is the Pirine in that offense.
exactly. So I think he's in for a lot of targets. I was a little annoyed with that one. That's okay.
Love it. 2 quarterbacks go off the board to snipe you possibly. I know you're not a big Purdy guy, so you're back up on the board.
I would have loved Love though.
Yeah.
No pun intended. With that being said, I can't let Stores get back-to-back picks. So I gotta grab my guy Herbie. Gotta draft him there.
Damn,
The
man!
biggest value in fantasy football to me.
That is
I couldn't let you get back-to-back. I know you need a quarterback.
it was gonna happen. It was gonna be, it was gonna happen. So, I'm absolutely, I don't even know. I'm speechless. I don't know what to do. I don't even.
You got my boy at a loss.
Yeah. When we both acknowledge that we want Herbert at quarterback, I couldn't let it get past this pick. So I'll take it. Biggest value in fantasy. He's in the best situation of his career. There's no reason he doesn't produce as well as he ever has, in my opinion, even with the rough receivers.
I mean, and Herbert, given bearing health too. I mean, last year he was playing with a finger injury all last year, ended up getting hurt. The year before he was banged up. So, hopefully he's able to stay up and healthy this year. They invested in the offensive line. You grab Joe Alt, you have Rashawn Slater, should be an incredible tackle duo. I mean, it's an incredible offensive line with Jim Harbaugh, with Greg Roman. I'm super excited. I'm heartbroken that he's gone. I really wanted my Ladd McConkey stack. I probably should have done it earlier, but that is okay, because
there's a better quarterback
here
here on the board.
I'm gonna go, with my last guy that I'm really high on quarterback wise, and I will go Caleb Williams here. I'm intrigued with the upside. He comes into possibly the greatest quarterback situation ever as a rookie. I don't think there's ever been a better situation for a quarterback coming into the NFL. And, he's a unique, exciting prospect that can kind of do everything. He can use his legs. He can beat you deep. He can beat you in the intermediate. There's nothing that Caleb Williams can't do. And he's coming into a perfect situation. And I see no reason that he can't be a successful top 10 quarterback, producing in fantasy this year. So I'm heartbroken. Herbie's gone. That was my dude. I wanted the stack, but it's okay. We're going in a little different route.
Compared to ADP consensus and my personal board, I do have Caleb Williams as my QB 10. I have Herbert farther down. I have Tua and Goff above Herbert. So you do get some good value here, even though you get finessed of your guy.
Yeah, fantastic value. I won't hate on that. If given this situation happened, it's a good rebound. It's a good rebound for myself.
Definitely.
Yeah. So Singletary, Jameson Williams, Schultz, Tua, Hawkinson, Brian Robinson go off the board here. And now I'm just looking to fill my bench spot. And what I am really like to do, I like to shoot for upside, but I also like to shoot for guys who I feel like are going to be productive this year. And Gus Edwards is on the board right here. He's quietly scored 13 touchdowns last year. He comes back into a familiar offense with a good offensive line. Until proven otherwise, the Chargers paid him. They gave him the big contract. J.K. Dobbins is on kind of a one-year prove-it deal with only $50,000 guaranteed in his salary. He can't stay healthy. And so I'm banking on Gus Edwards to be the touchdown leader in this offense, which I feel like will be around the red zone a lot. And so, as my running back 2 on the bench, I'm feeling comfortable with him. Also is considering Blake Corum, but I kind of see, a more touchdown upside path for Gus Edwards.
Yeah, Jason, what are your thoughts on Gus Edwards? He's going into that familiar situation with the Greg Roman offense, coming off a big boom year in touchdowns. What are your thoughts on that situation?
I'm a big fan. I mean, I think he's not a starter, but he's like the perfect six man for any bench. If you have a player down a week, he's gonna score a touchdown, and I think he'll hit double digit touchdowns this year, especially with the rest of that backfield. I mean, maybe the rookie Vidal takes over, but otherwise, I don't think J.K. Dobbins is gonna be too much of a factor with his health. But I think Gus is definitely the back to have in that offense, and I like the pick. He's gonna be a goal line machine.
And he is injured right now. He has some undisclosed injury, but they said he should be ready for the start of mini camp. So I don't think it's anything to be too concerned about. It is an interesting backfield, but yeah, I mean, you bank on the guy that they paid. Obviously, they have more faith in Gus than J.K. Dobbins, even though I would argue that J.K. Dobbins is a little bit more high upside. But you paid Gus, you gave him the 2-year contract. You obviously feel more comfortable with him. And you think about Austin Eckler 2 years ago, who wasn't, he's not a big guy. He's not a good, I would say he's not a good running back in general. He's a good receiver, but he was able to score 20 touchdowns in that Chargers offense. And there's a big hole for touchdowns, so Gus Edwards could be the beneficiary of that.
Yeah, I think Gus was like the first signing of free agency too. So there is an indication that the Chargers do like the player. They definitely will utilize him. So I do like the value there. Goddard, Jared Goff go right before Jason's next pick.
This is not my top player on the board, but it's the last back I feel comfortable drafting to my bench. I'm going to go, it's a little bit of an upside pick. I don't know how it's going to work out, but I'm going to take Blake Corum.
That's what I would have done if I didn't go Gus. So
yeah,
fantastic pick. A ready now running back right now too. I mean, this guy comes out of an NFL pro style offense in college and scored 28 touchdowns. So that's and Dan have compared him to Kyren Williams. So we wouldn't be surprised if he takes over that backfield.
Yeah, no, I did. Yes, sir. Pretty hard.
I'm tilting right now, man.
Yeah, there's no backs left.
Yeah,
there's literally I had to, and I can see in like a median outcome, it's just a split and they take series by series. But in the best case, I mean, not best case scenario, like if Kyren misses time, that's a league winner. In that offense with that line, there's upside and floor because he'll be a solid bench player at least.
100%. Yeah, that's a damn good pick, and I would have gone him. If not, I feel a little bit more comfortable with Gus Edwards, but Blake Corum is the higher upside player and potentially a league winning player. And Kyren Williams, has had injury history throughout his career. So yeah, it's a beautiful pick. And you can tell it on Dan's face that he's just absolutely
he's upset.
He's like stone. There's like Medusa just like
I would have ran that pick up to the board because I definitely get kind of weird injury vibes with Kyren. Even this offseason, McVay's been kind of dodging questions about Kyren's legs or his knees or whatever the injury is. So I am a little bit sus on Kyren, and obviously I compared him to Kyren coming out in the draft, and that is just a perfect 1-for-1 replacement. And he's in the situation that Kyren was in. He could have that type of league winning season. So I do love that. Value, on your bench. That's a great pick to have. And now I am kind of screwed over, and I'm just going to I'm going to hedge here with my Anthony Richardson pick because he didn't finish a game healthy last year. Every single game he played in, he did leave at some point. So I'm going to hedge with Jayden Daniels and go 2 upside athletic quarterbacks. Surely one will work out here. And I'm not the biggest Jayden Daniels guy as a passer. This is fantasy football, though. I do think he will at least be Justin Fields as a fantasy option and, get some exciting rush weeks.
I like that.
Yeah.
Oh, go on, Jason.
I mean, one thing we know that works with quarterbacks in fantasy football, getting value on rookie quarterbacks that can run. So it's tried and true. It was going to work out with Richardson last year before he got hurt. So it's a good pick. He's going to be good in fantasy and a value, I think.
Definitely.
I'm gonna throw something out there. Kind of my meta in like a 12-team PPR, just for like bench and stuff. And this is just totally off topic, but I kind of like to hoard those running backs. To be honest, like kind of what me and Jason just did. I like to hoard the running backs. I like to have them in this platform. I just feel like it's very, very good value. And so when Dan has to, panic and go quarterback, I feel like Jason got him right there.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't know what I'm going to do right here, though. So AD Mitchell, Tyler Lockett, Curtis Samuel, Romeo Dobbs go off the board, and I will be going running back. Chase Brown has projected so much points, which is crazy to me because I think Zach Moss is just going to be the Joe Mixon completely in that offense. Chase Brown's fun, but I don't think he's getting 160 fantasy points. I will be going with Jerome Ford. Like I said, I have no idea what's going on with Nick Chubb. When they ask him about his injury, he kind of points to like the mental issues of the injury and him mentally, wanting to get back out there. And that's not something I want to hear from a guy that I'm banking on coming back and producing for my fantasy team. I think he'll start the season not starting or maybe on the pup even. And if that happens, Jerome Ford is going to be another great value. He was really slept on last year, had some really good games, provided a good PPR option as well. He can catch. So I do like Jerome Ford. I like he's underrated breakaway speed as well. I do think he's a really good value this year, better than Chase Brown.
I completely agree. I mean, I just feel like the whole Nick Chubb thing is so sus right now that it's just like,
Yeah.
I've completely kind of put Nick Chubb off my board because I don't know. I
Mhm.
mean, when Nick Chubb is right and healthy, he's arguably the best running back in the NFL. But given the weird situation going on right now, I have no faith in him at all. So it is a good pick, Dan.
Heartbreaking injury for him for sure. Chase Brown and Leggett go off the board right after. This is kind of the area of the draft where you're throwing darts at these high upside young guys. So what's Jason going to do here?
No, yeah, I'll be honest, I'm lost. I'm looking through these names and it's just not appealing.
This
I'm
is
I'm
where it gets rough
gonna
in 12-team leagues.
yeah, haven't experienced this. I'm gonna grab just who I think is the best talent. I don't even necessarily need them, but you don't really need any of these players. I'm gonna go Pat Freiermuth, who I could see being like Ferguson, the second option in that Steelers passing game.
Yeah.
Interesting. I definitely was looking at Xavier Legette for the rookie upside. That's kind of what I like to dart throw at this point in the draft. But he is gone.
Yeah, he was off the board.
There's some intriguing prospects to me. I'm going to throw out just a couple names that I'm thinking of. Jalen Wright, obviously with Miami taking him as early as they did. He's interesting. I'm more targeting him in a dynasty aspect because I kind of feel like he's the successor to Raheem Mostert. I don't know if it's going to be anything this year, if he's worth anything this year. Mike Williams coming off of a torn ACL, going to New York with Aaron Rodgers is tempting just because I can see the touchdown appeal there. But yeah, this is where it becomes hard. But I mean, I'm just gonna throw this out there. A guy who I think is very undervalued, and a guy that should have a pretty clear and cut role. I'm going Josh Palmer. I mean, as of right now, he is the X. He is the number one wide receiver. He's the guy that Herbert has trust and familiarity with. And I feel like he's just kind of off people's draft boards. I mean, this is a guy that, when healthy can put up 1,000-yard season. I mean, he had a 900-yard season 2 years ago. When Keenan Allen, I mean, he was in and out of the lineup too, but when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were both hurt. And so a guy that has incredible trust. He's learned behind Keenan Allen. I'm banking on these Chargers receivers. I got the 1 and 2 right here, but I'm banking Josh Palmer can kind of be a pretty consistent offensive weapon and has a pretty easy path to some clear targets in that offense.
Stores is making sure he gets the wide receiver one of the Chargers offense, no matter what happens. Unless Brandon Rice has a revelation year, he will be getting the wide receiver one. And let's rapid fire these last 2 rounds here.
Yes, sir. And then I will just go Jalen Wright here because Raheem Mostert is 31 years old. He's in a high-powered electric offense. He's 230 pound or 220 and runs a 4.3. He's maybe a little too good to not involve, and he was my running back 1 coming out of the draft this year.
Love it. J.K. Dobbins goes right after, followed by Kirk Cousins.
With this pick, I'm going to grab more of a dart throw, but 2 older backs on that team. I'm going to go with Kendre Miller. Maybe age, injury, he could get a role, but yeah, just true dart throws.
Yeah, we're at that point of the draft where you are
Yeah.
going complete dart throws. And, I think this is a pretty decent dart throw here at the top of the draft. Don't love the player too much, but Jerry Jeudy is going to be the wide receiver 2 in that offense. Elijah Moore is the worst football player in sports. I think he's just the worst athlete in sports, really. I think Elijah Moore has no business being on an NFL roster. So I do think Jerry Jeudy will kind of luck himself into some targets and some production. Deshaun Watson's very much a question mark to say the least. But there's a world of upside. This is crazy value later than he's ever gone. So I will take Jeudy here.
I like it.
Anyone
I
hate
like
the
it
pick?
too.
Anyone hate Jeudy?
I mean,
Nope, I don't. I'm
it's
not a fan of Judy, but he's all right.
this is kind of where he deserves to go.
Yeah,
Second to last pick. Maybe a new regime, new system can be the difference for Judy. So it's you throw a dart at the board.
I'm going to throw my last dart of the draft here. Probably the most upside of any of these tight ends here on the board. We'll go Ben Sinnott. Really loved him
Yeah.
coming out. He was like a Kyle Juszczyk clone. I do have Jaden Daniels on the roster, so that could be a maybe end of season potential stack that I could use. So I'll throw the dart.
I like it.
fair. Yeah. Okay. With this last pick, I'm gonna mention two names just because I feel like they're worth discussing. Okay, how do you guys feel about Dontavian Wicks?
He's Devontae Adams.
Twitter loves him. He was good last year. I'm gonna grab him. I don't remember him being like that, but everyone loves him. Everyone's picking him as breakout. And then
Good.
I also honestly, I think Jermaine Burton could be a nice pick in this range.
Yeah, he could be the
So
wide receiver 3 day one for the Bengals. They lost Boy. They don't really have anyone other than Josephus and Charlie Jones. So
exactly. And we know he's talented. I think that's another intriguing name. I went with Wicks, but I don't know. At this range, I feel like those are two solid shots.
Wicks is really solid. There is a world where he does finish as the Packers wide receiver 1. He has the profile, the build. Jordan Love really trusted him at the end of the year. He was stealing all of the fantasy receivers points. He really ended the season strong. So I could see them continuing that connection. He could be a big steal here in the last round.
I'm gonna end the draft here for you boys. And I'm going to take the Giants running back 1, Tyrone Tracy. Maybe a name you haven't heard of, but you will hear by the end of the year, and that is a league-winning pick right there. You heard it here first.
Great receiver.
League winner.
I don't know about that much, but he played receiver. He could be a good PPR option. He's a really, really good receiver. So I do like the pick. Let's go into grading each other's teams real quick. Let's go over Jason's team. Do you want to read it off?
Mine?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So quarterback, I got Herbert. At running back, I got Bijan Robinson and Devon Achane. Receiver, Nico Collins and T. Higgins with Mark Andrews at tight end. And then at flex, I have Rome Odunze and Ramondre Stevenson.
Give me a scroll up one more time, Dan. I just really need to look at this roster.
Yeah.
I think it's really well balanced. I do like the 2 running backs, the 2 receivers at the top. The flex is really solid with one really high upside guy. Ramondre's got a nice floor. Mark Andrews, Justin Herbert, 2 of the best values in fantasy this year. I'll give you a nice little B+.
Appreciate that, man.
Can we get a number thrown out there too, Dan?
That translation would be I'll give you an 8.1.
B+ is 8 point. I feel like a B+ is like an 8.7.
Yeah,
that was pretty bad. I'll say 8.6.
8.1 is like a C+.
No, you're right. I'll give you an 8.6.
All right, fair enough.
Obviously the Justin Herbert pick is an A++.
Yeah.
It's a little different from how I draft. I'm a little more suspect on Devon Achane and Nico Collins and T. Higgins. Some big booms. I'm going to be a little harsher for our first guest on the show. I'm going to give him a C+.
All right.
Maybe like a 7.5 or something. But I'm going to be a little harsher. Justin Herbert pick gets an A+, tremendous value. Bijan A+. But it's the next 3 in Devon, Achane, Nico Collins, and T. Higgins that do scare me.
What would you grade
Achane's
yourself?
very, very risky, but T. Higgins, I think you're just missing on. He's a good player when healthy.
I could be, and he's like I said, he's coming into a contract season. But I'm gonna be a little harsher. I'm gonna give it a C.
No, that's fair.
7.5.
Grade yourself. What would you grade yourself?
I think it's like a B. It's not my best work, but I don't know. The 6th spot was a little weird because got right there to Achane, and it was like, I don't know. 6th spot was a little weird, but I feel like a solid B.
Yeah, that's definitely fair.
Say, we're definitely gonna have Jason on for another mock draft, so it won't be his last. He'll definitely have a
Yeah,
chance to
for
redeem
sure.
himself to me. But
Redeem
I'll get
himself.
into mine, which is kind of an interesting, a little different than what I usually do. But Caleb Williams at quarterback, Jahmyr Gibbs and Saquon as the 1-2 punch, taking a big swing on Malik Neighbors as the wide receiver 1, followed by Devontae Smith as the wide receiver 2, Jake Ferguson, the wide receiver 2 in the offense of the Cowboys as my tight end. And then George Pickens, Lad McConkey, Jonathan Brooks, Gus Edwards, Josh Palmer, Jalen Wright, and Tyrone Tracy, the league winner there. Um, I'm a, you know what? It's kind of a sexy draft. I can't lie to myself. I'm gonna hype myself up. I'm gonna say I think I won this exercise. Sorry to preemptively say that, Dan. I'm gonna give it a A minus, so like a 8.99. Right in that range. I like the team. I like the upside.
I'll give my grade out. I'm gonna give you a B plus as well, but I'm gonna give you an 8.5.1 worse than Jason. That's how I'm going.
Yes, sir.
Ooh, he's giving the edge to
You know
Jason.
ball.
It's
I
just
feel
Malik
like
Neighbors as wide receiver 1. That's really it.
It's understandable. It's definitely it
Calling your
could be
shot.
a swing and a miss, or it could be a grand slam. So
Yeah.
I feel like a B minus is how I'm feeling.
all
It's the
right.
combo. It's better than you gave me, but it's the combo of Neighbors, and then I don't know. Lad might be a great pick, but he's still a rookie. We can think he's a great player, but I don't know how I feel about any of your last flex spots, unless Brooks comes back from that ACL and is really a guy. It's just a lot of risk with that last spot, I feel like. So I feel like a B minus, like an 8.1.
You could say Jahmyr Gibbs is a little bit of a reach at the 1-9 too. So
I like Gibbs though. It's not
Yeah.
even that. I really like your backs,
I
quarterback.
love the backs.
Yeah, it's just Neighbors as a receiver 1 to me, and then McConkey. And even I like Pickens a lot. It's a little bit of a projection, but like he's a good pick. I like Pickens, but
100%. Yes,
it feels
100%.
like a very risky team.
Yes.
Definitely Stores calling his shots. That was the theme of his
Yeah.
team for
Yeah.
sure. We'll get into my team real quick. I get Anthony Richardson and Jaden Daniels as my quarterbacks, Travis Etienne, Alvin Kamara as my running backs, CeeDee Lamb, Deebo Samuel, Jaden Reed, Keon Coleman as my receivers, with Evan Ingram and Benson not as my tight ends. Interesting team. I do think my flexes are a little bit lower tier, but there is some upside with them for sure. I do like my team. I like to wait on quarterbacks, but I don't mind it.
It's a good value team. I'm going to say that right now with the Travis Etienne, Kamara, and we're taking in perspective. It is a PPR league, and so Kamara maybe in a non PPR league is absolutely irrelevant. But you got to, like Dan said, Derek Carr is check down Carr. He's scared of any kind of pressure. That's a good player. That's tremendous upside. You got CeeDee Lamb at the 1-3, which probably should be the 1-1 or the 1-2. Tremendous value. I like your team a lot, Dan. I like your team a lot, but I'll give you a B plus at a solid 8.5. At a solid 8.5.
Heck yeah, take it.
I'm feeling the exact way. I think like a B plus, 8.5. I really like it. It's just those flexes, they're high upside, risky picks. But I honestly think your bench, if it doesn't work out, like let's say those two just miss, they're younger players, you never know. Warren and Ford are like solid bench players that can fill it out. So I think you filled it out well with value. It could be plus 8.5. I think that's fair.
All right, Dan, would you grade yourself yet, or did you?
I'm gonna be selfish here. I'm gonna give myself an 8.7. I'm gonna give myself the highest grade out of my grades, just because I like the top of my draft. I really like Anthony Richardson down to Deebo, at least. I don't love the Evan Ingram pick, but I do like I think the floor of my team's pretty high. I think the running backs could be good considering I have CeeDee Lamb, that big, superstar boost to my team. So CeeDee Lamb does take my grade up a little bit.
I love your starters. I hate your bench. I should say that for me. I think the starters are probably the best. But yeah,
I don't mind the bench.
As we grade out, I think Dan over all three of us. I think Dan does have the highest grade in this, but let us know in the comments, please, because I'm a little bit more bullish and confident in mine. I think I had the best team. Please let us know in the comment, A, B, or C. A for Dan, B for Jason, C for Stores. Let us know.
or just say Jason, Danny, or Josh. Just comment who you think had the best draft.
Let us
Really
know.
fun. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you, Jason, for joining. This was super fun. We'll hopefully you can come on for another mock draft. We've got a long
For
time till
sure.
the real draft season, so really, really fun, man.
Yeah,
It
just
was-
let me know. It was a really good time. I appreciate
was-
you guys having me on.
Yeah, it was a
Anything you want to
blast.
plug?
Oh wait, go on.
What's-
Anything
up?
you want to plug other than Let's Talk Broncos?
Yeah, just check out my website, letstalkbroncos.com. But other than that, not too much right now.
Shout out our king Jason over there. Great mock. It was super fun. Hopefully we get him back on the show. But
It was a lot of fun.
this is our favorite exercise. So make sure you share the love, like, comment, subscribe, all the good things for the algorithm. Any hot takes from either of you to end it?
My hot take is that I drafted better than Jason. He's gonna have to come on for another one and try to redeem himself.
My hot take is that I dominated this draft, honestly, and that I don't know. I don't know if you guys could hang with me.
So what I'm hearing is we're gonna get a 2.0. So stay
Oh
tuned.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely comment who had the best draft. We'll let the comments decide that. So really fun. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of the NFL Seekers podcast. Like, comment, subscribe for the algorithm. Peace out.
Peace.